All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle Up podcast. We're on episode 7. Got Hayden with me as always. We're back. We're back on our 1 to 2 weekly episode, so we'll just hit it off right away. We're going to do a little NFL, but first we're going to start with the National Championship for the CFP that was played last night. I don't know. I watched this whole game. I'm not sure how much you caught exactly, but Ohio State took care of business. Let's see. That final score was 34-23. Do you have any thoughts? Do you want to start us off with the Natty? Anything you got there, or maybe just like the playoff itself?
I know we talked about it in the last episode. I like the playoff just because it's more football, and it kind of gives more teams an opportunity. Like, obviously, Notre Dame wouldn't have been in the CFP if this was last year with the 4 teams. I thought it was a pretty enjoyable game. As soon as Notre Dame got the fumble on, I think it was Egbuka,
Yeah.
that it started to like kind of shift. But the kicker for Notre Dame is an absolute meme. Also,
Yeah, how did he miss that? That
I
was
I think you and I probably could have had a we could have put up just as good of a kick as that. But I will say I don't understand kicking it in that situation. Maybe it's just because we've seen so much Dan Campbell and Dan Quinn going for it on fourth this year and previous years in the NFL. But
yeah.
I didn't necessarily understand it. I thought they could have benefited from going for it. I mean, obviously, you don't know you're going to miss the kick, but you go for it there. You still have time left, and then you're putting Ohio State in deep territory, so you never
Yeah.
know what would happen. I thought it was an entertaining game. It wasn't really looking that way at halftime and then throughout most of the third quarter. But
Yeah.
the only thing that I have to say is why are you sending a blitz on third and long and you're leaving the best wide receiver in the country one on
Yeah.
one? That was nuts. Like
Yeah,
that.
that was I get the blitz call. I like to a certain point, but you've got to figure out they had pretty much they played the same way Texas did, which was we're not going to give Jeremiah Smith any one-on-one really. We're not giving him a deep ball. We're not letting that happen. And they played that to that, game plan until that play.
Hmm.
And that was it at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that was it, but I mean, you put him in single coverage and that's it. You know what I mean? Like you can't make that mistake. No matter the situation, you just can't do it.
I,
Um, or yeah, go ahead.
I saw something. I wanted to get your opinion on this because I guess we don't have too much on the topic, but someone said Jeremiah Smith would be one of the, like, of the last like 10 years, he would be one of the players that, like, if he were able to come out of college as a freshman, he would probably be the first non-quarterback taken in the draft. I would honestly say he'd probably be the first pick in this draft, at least in my opinion. I
He'd
know
be the
that,
first pick in this draft.
right?
I think. I think he's the best like true freshman in college football since AP.
Yeah. I,
So really, since our like generation, because like AP was kind of the beginning of our like football,
yeah.
watching like I have his rookie card, like that was kind of peak, right? Like that was the beginning. So since then, I don't think there's been a true freshman quite like Jeremiah Smith. In terms of like you can see the talent, you can see, I mean, he's producing, he's the wide receiver one on the best team in college football. As a freshman, he's got the maturity, he's got like he's just like AP. He would be pretty much number one.
Yeah.
Um, and in this draft specifically, he would be number one. Like the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud draft, maybe he wouldn't have been number one if we want to play like a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
Because those were two pretty elite quarterback prospects coming out. But and then Caleb this past year, I think Caleb would have been above him there. But in a lot of drafts, he would have been number one, I think. Um, but yeah, the field goal call, I agree with you there. It was weird. Once I kind of thought about it, I was like, okay, I get it. Against every other team but Ohio State, you're down 2 touchdowns, and Ohio State's going to score again probably. So what's the good? and kicking a field goal.
Yeah.
Like if they were playing anyone else, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. You solidify the two possessions. But yeah, that was probably not a great call, but it is what it is. Um, I think my takeaway from that game and kind of the CFP and like the game was great, by the way, after that fumble that you talked about.
Hmm.
I always butcher his name, but Emeka Ibuka, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. He absolute dog, by the way. He's probably going to be wide receiver one in this draft, like in terms of performance.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say McMillan is pretty.
He's good too, but I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. McMillan's good too,
Yeah,
but
like Luke is nice.
um, yeah, he's really really nice. Um, if they score on that possession, we're talking about Georgia TCU. Really, I mean, so but the fumble did happen, so we're not gonna live in that hypothetical. It did happen, but I went into the game kind of thinking this is gonna be Georgia TCU, and aside from that fumble, that's kind of what it felt like to me. Um, I don't know if you watched the Ohio State Indiana game from like 2 months ago ish,
I-
but it was the exact same thing where Indiana and Notre Dame put everything into the first drive, and man, both beautiful drives. Um,
Sorry, Rat Slaps here.
no, let's go. Um, but yeah, they put everything into that first drive, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, Riley Leonard was throwing up on the sideline after the first drive. Like that's literally you are all in on that first drive. Um, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, Notre Dame kind of recovered. Unlike Indiana, they got a little momentum going, but it was it was pretty ugly for the most part.
Yeah.
I think the CFP they just got to figure out a great way to like at least try and have two tier one teams um, make it to the end to kind of avoid that game. I mean, it was fun, cool to see Notre Dame in the CFP championship, but I would have loved to have seen like Ohio State, Oregon, of course, but even Oregon aside, like throw in Georgia, throw in Texas. You like
Yeah.
if that Ohio State Texas game was the Natty, that would have been pretty sweet.
No, I agree. They,
Sack, 90 yards, that I mean that would have been sweet.
they just got to
But
fix the seating.
yeah, if they fix the seating, I think it'll be taken care of.
Yeah. But
So, but I thought like we've kind of talked about before, I think that was a solid year one for the CFP. I think fix the seating right away if they can, but either way, it was fun. I mean,
yeah.
you have teams like Arizona State that have never gotten in before ever. Boise, obviously, SMU got a shot, and it
Yeah.
makes it fun.
Well,
Keeps more fan bases involved, makes it more exciting. Even though we had some ugly games, but
and more money for college football.
hmm well, college is all about money now, so
Yeah.
it is what it is. You have anything else there, or should we just go to?
Yeah, let's
Let's just
just
do
get
it.
it over with.
This is not a good day for you, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Neither of
Um,
us really.
yeah, that's true. I forgot that game happened. My bad. Um, so we're gonna do a NFL kind of divisional round recap, and then we'll do a pick 'em for the conference championship. So we'll go in order. So we'll start with my boys, of course, always in the afternoon Saturday game. Always a classic. Shout out Roger Goodell for putting us at that slot every single time. Um, Texans go to KC. They lose. I think the final score was 14-23, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah.
That seems right. I'll check real quick.
Yeah, because they covered the 9.5.
Yep, 23-14. The media takeaway from the game was all the crazy ref calls, refs with KC, blah 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 blah. But we could start with that, I guess. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I love just the game itself. I don't need to talk about refs for an hour, but um, did you have anything with that, or just anything on the game?
I definitely think that I not say favor, but they definitely give calls to certain guys because I've seen Stafford get lit up in the helmet and stuff. Like
Mhm.
last year in the Lions Rams game, Stafford got blown up, and then he legit looked like he was paralyzed for a good like 2 seconds. Like he was full on knocked out, and they didn't call it, and it was like a pretty obvious like roughing the passer situation. But like
And there was just nothing.
and there was just nothing. But like guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen, I think Josh Allen's honestly the face of flopping in the NFL because I saw it in the
Yeah,
Bills Rams game. But I don't know. They just need to make the defense have like a more allowance. But just with the way that the rules are written, I understand it. But like the Will Anderson one, I can kind of understand because at first glance, I thought Will Anderson like murdered Mahomes.
yeah.
But obviously, replay it didn't look as bad. But the one where he was going to run out of bounds and then he came back and then the two Texans hit over him, that was a pretty. I didn't think that was a good call at all. I thought that was the worst of the two.
For sure. I
But
mean, yeah, for sure.
yeah, I know that you probably have good opinions on this. So I'll digress and let you.
Yeah, I think I was really bummed because, diehard Texans fan. I've just wanted them to get to the conference championship for so long, at least. And it looked like early they were going to have a shot. And, I know that KC is the better team. So, like, it's not like, not going to go global here, right? But
Yeah,
like last year in that Ravens game, it was like, oh, the Ravens are the better team. It's not even close. The second half wasn't even close. Like, okay, is what it is. They're better. No controversy. Just pack it up and, good season. But this one was like the timing of the calls and just it was just really weird. And you don't see NFL fans like get that fired up. That's how you know it was bad. Like some people that like bet on the Chiefs and like whatever were in somewhat denial, and I'm like, I mean, you can't deny that there's at least some favoring. I don't think it's rigged. I'm not delusional. It's just like there's something going on because you have and the timing of the two roughing calls too. I mean, it's just like, I mean, you can't make it up. I mean, the Texans weren't getting calls like that. There were hip drop tackles. There were
on
hits.
Schultz.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like there's favoring. I don't know if the Texans would have won with it or without it. Like, we could go down that forever.
Yeah,
But it just feels like you're ripped off at that point because you kind of go in. Like, I don't think some of the Texan players and D'Amico were saying like, "Oh, we knew it was going to be us against the world." Blah blah blah. Kind of fair based on how it played out a little bit.
yeah,
I mean, the offense definitely could have done more. Kaimi Fairbairn missed two kicks. I mean, like the Texans did bite themselves. It was not just the refs, but you got to think a couple calls go there, are just called fairly, and there's a shot.
yeah.
So I think Texans got a hit on O line. In this next draft and free agency, it was not good in the second half. First half, I thought the O line played really well. The second half, it was very ugly, especially down the stretch, like in that fourth quarter. Um, Obviously, hurt not having Diggs and Tank Dell. I mean, then you're at Nico, and they're doubling Nico every time. So you're really working with Mechie and Hutch for the most part, which, two studs, two young guys, but it's not what you want. Um, but they gave Casey a fight. Texans defense is legit. They
Yeah.
might be like, I mean, they're top three for sure, and I would probably put them at. I mean, maybe Philly has the edge, but we'll talk about that game later. They've got some weak spots for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's tough.
Yeah.
I think Texans are number one there, and it'll be fun to see what happens next year. I think they get a couple pieces. They might draft a receiver. It sounds like.
Do you think they bring back Diggs?
I don't. I don't think so. I think unless he'd be willing to do another 1 year deal, which he's probably not. I bet he'd go to like Watch out for New England, low key. That could be an interesting one.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he wants to
interesting.
get paid, so I think he's gonna look for like a 2 year, 12 mil ish each year. So 2 year, 24,
Yeah,
5. I don't think he'd get more than 3 years. So, but he's trying to get paid.
yeah,
So I think kind of that middle ground. I don't think the Texans are going to be willing to do that.
that's
But
fair.
and then they have to draft a receiver because I don't know if Tank is even going to play next year.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I,
So they're going to get a guy. I mean, theoretically they could bring back Diggs, but I don't think they will.
I think.
It's not like he was that productive to
Yeah.
start. Like you got it takes time to get chemistry and everything, but it was not that great when he was in.
Hmm.
It was just kind of a guy, and
Yeah.
I like Diggs, but it just didn't seem to fit to me. So
No.
yeah,
I,
it'll be fun next year. Bummer way to go out, but you got any other thoughts on that?
I mean, I think Mixon played well for how I'd say limited their O line is.
Yeah,
He actually surprised me
he
the
had a
whole
good
year, and
game.
I know. Yeah, he had a really good game.
Yeah,
And he was hurt to start the game. I remember. I didn't know he was on the
yeah. I
injury
don't know
report.
what that was about.
He didn't seem
I don't
injured when
know.
he scored against the Chargers. That's why I was kind of surprised. Maybe it was like during
Yeah,
practice.
I think. I mean, I think sometimes you get hit. I mean, I've never played football, so
Yeah,
hard for me to talk. But I think like when you lift weights, you're kind of more sore the next day. If you're going to be
yeah,
sore, than like the day of, and so maybe he took a hit in a spot, and the next day was sore. I mean, that's my only guess.
yeah. But he was running well. I was wrong about him to start the year because I didn't think he was worth the money that he got, but he definitely proved his. I mean, he was a top five running back or at least top seven, if not
He's
top
probably
five
top
easily.
5. I would
Yeah,
think. I mean, we could. I mean, Saquon, Derrick Henry,
Josh Jacobs,
Kyren, Gibbs.
Josh Jacobs,
True.
Bijan,
That's probably the top 5 right there. Oh shoot. Well, yeah. Okay.
top seven though,
Probably
at least
he's for sure. Yeah, he's top
behind the
7
worst
range.
O line of all those guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, he played really well. I mean, stats wise, he blew a couple of those guys out of the water, I think.
yeah,
I'd have to go back and look, but pretty sure he did.
yeah. No, he was
Uh,
good.
yeah, Mixon played well in that game. Defense didn't quite get turnovers. That was the only thing, but Chiefs aren't going to turn the ball over in that spot, so
Yeah,
we kind of know that. Okay, well, we can hit on Commanders Lions. That was a pretty. I missed most of this game, but I mean, the bottom line. I mean, crazy upset,
yeah.
crazy upset. It was what I hoped the Texans would do, but it is what it is. Um, do you think it was mostly like the banged up defense? Like, where do you think Detroit kind of went wrong here? Or did JD5 just like play out of his mind and like do you think Detroit lost it or do you think the Commanders won it?
I think Detroit lost. I think it's a mix of both, but definitely Detroit lost it. I know that you and I have had our fair talk about the McVay era and what he's
Yeah.
done, kind of. And I hate to say it, but there's definitely one glaring issue with the team, and I think you know where I'm going with this. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think that they're going to win anything significant with Goff as the quarterback. They're like a Stafford away, you could say. Just because, I mean, it was like two or three picks that he had. He had the fumble. I know Jamison Williams threw the pick, that was just, I don't know why he didn't just throw it away uh, watching that game. But I know that the
Yeah.
defense was banged up, but they still have NFL, like their secondary still had two like all pro level safeties, and they look like fools out there trying to chase down Terry and then trying to chase down, of all people, Austin Eckler. That was pretty sad to watch
Yeah.
if you're a Lions fan.
That it's hard because on that point and then I'll hit on the JMO play too, but like safeties are really important, but you're not putting a safety on man to man. with a usually they
Yeah,
might be man to man with like a tight end or a running back, but usually who's guarding Terry McLaurin? It's going to be like a corner.
yeah.
That's what makes it. Yeah,
And they lost Robertson at the beginning of the game too. That injury looked pretty bad, and when he broke his arm or elbow
yeah.
or something, he was playing well for them too. But that was a successful hate watch as a Rams fan. That's the one thing I can take away from this postseason was that Detroit wasn't. I'm sure if they had a healthy defense, the game would have been a lot closer. But I think you got to give credit to the Commanders and the game plan because they didn't turn the ball over in Detroit, and they looked really good.
Good. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I've watched a lot of this team, and JD5 plays really well. He doesn't really turn it over. Um, and it's just a weird feeling because they have like it's not that they don't have guys. They have Scary Terry. They've got Brian Robinson, Eckler, like old Ertz. Like they've got pieces, but it's not like pieces. Like it's
Yeah,
not like an elite core, but they make it look so easy. I don't get it. They've torn up Philly before. They've torn up Detroit. Um, I mean, I think JD5's second game was in Cincy, which was a bad defense, but he went head to head with Burrow and won.
yeah.
I mean,
He's
yeah,
special.
he's special. They're legit.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a team.
I mean, if they get a couple guys in the offseason, and who knows? I mean, they're still alive.
Yeah,
They pull off one game, they're in the Super Bowl.
yeah.
So, I mean, I can't even pivot to next year yet because they're still around. Um, yeah, I think. I mean, you hit on a lot there. I think it's a mix of both between the Lions kind of losing it and the Commanders winning it. I remember looking at because like I said, I didn't watch it, but I remember looking at the box score, and I want to look again. Um, I mean, the Lions had 521, but they didn't convert in the red zone. That's what's interesting.
Yeah.
Commanders were 4 for 4 in the red zone. The Lions were 3 for 6 with 5 turnovers. So I mean, yeah, Goff 3 picks. JMO had the one as well. I mean, it's just a weird game. But you can't turn. We're gonna get to the Ravens later, but you can't turn the ball over in the playoffs. I mean, 521 yards. It doesn't matter. They lost because they turned it over 5 times and went 3 for 6 in the red zone. And I mean, you were kind of maybe proven a little bit right about Goff in the spot just because of the turnovers. Not his best game. Um, I mean, they looked like the best team pretty much all year, if we're real.
Even without the defense.
Yeah, exactly. They still look great. And Goff went pumpkin mode and turned the ball over. Again, I didn't see all the turnovers. I don't know what was his fault, what wasn't. But I mean, not great. Not great for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know where they go next year because that felt like their year. That's what's crazy to me. It's like that was Detroit's year. That was their time because the Chiefs haven't looked really unstoppable. I think we know the Bills are good, but they have weaknesses. Philly with Jalen Hurts has been up and down. It kind of felt like the Lions' time. Like I started to kind of buy in a little bit towards the end
Yeah, me
of the
too.
season, and then yeah, sheesh, that blew up real quick.
And they lost Johnson.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't know how that's going to work.
and they'll lose Glenn
We'll
probably.
talk about that in a
Another.
episode later this week.
Yeah.
Just the Ben Johnson situation.
Plus, they're going to lose
Um,
Glenn.
you think he's going to New York?
Either New York or New Orleans. I think New Orleans may be more likely. I don't know who would want the Jets job. They were interviewing Rex Ryan. It's like, good lord, dude. Or
Yeah,
one of the Ryan
Rex
brothers.
did a clown show after his comments about the Texans game, the
Yeah.
first one. Bye week? Yeah, Crazy talk. All right, we'll go to the next game. I know you were trying to delay it, which I know. Rams go to Philly and lose to the Eagles 28-22. I'll let you start with this one.
I will say, I think they played well for the most part.
I'm proud of you for saying that, man. I thought you were gonna blast them like you were during the game.
Just wait. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because it's coming. I don't know how. This is the thing that frustrates me is like a thing with like Goff, right? Is that he turns the ball over and he puts his team in unfortunate situations. And I'm not saying Stafford doesn't,
Yeah.
because okay, the key points of the game, and this is what really irritates me, is they got the big Demarcus Robinson catch, and then they get
Yep.
down into the red zone, and then Stafford and Kyron fumble the handoff. They kill the drive. They have to kick three.
Yeah.
So you lose 4 points right there because they are probably going to score a touchdown. Realistically,
Yeah.
maybe bias aside, but they are probably going to score a touchdown there.
Yeah. I mean, where did they get? Like I'm picturing it right now. They got in the red zone, but were they at like the 5 or like the?
They
I
were
can't
between
remember.
the 5 and the 10, and they lost almost 10 yards on that
That's
play.
that's right.
Okay,
Yep.
so there's
Yep.
one on the. I think on the punt return, one of the punt returns afterwards, the Xavier Smith got lit up by one of our backup linebackers, and he had a seam to take it to the house. So that's another missed opportunity right there.
Yep.
They would get stops on defense, and then when they would get the ball, they'd go three and out. So it was literally just trading possessions. The Kyron fumble sucked because he's had a fumble issue all year, and it's like I
Yep.
don't know why you're not running with two hands on
That
the
one.
ball.
I just want to jump in really, really quick, and then
Yeah,
back to you. I struggle to really blame him on that one, and I'll keep the same consistency when we pivot to the Ravens here in a little bit. I think the cold weather, especially that Philly game, especially like that, the snow was really coming down at that point. I don't know. It just like obvious. Is it his fault? 100%. Am I gonna like rip him for it because of the snow? Maybe not as much. I don't know. Is that fair?
I wouldn't rip him for it as much, but he's had a fumbling. He's had 6 or 7 fumbles this season, and he's lost four. So, like,
Yeah.
hypothetically, if he lost all 6 or 7, we'd be having a completely different convo about him. But I mean, four isn't terrible. That's like one in every 4 games. I can kind of live with that because Stafford throws picks like it's
Yeah.
like he's dealing cards at a casino. But
Yeah.
that fumble hurt because they got the safety and it looked like they could have driven. And there was a 2nd and 10 run where he had the first.
They had complete momentum.
Yeah, and then
Complete
this
momentum.
the Stafford fumble hurt because that gave him another. So that was 6 points off of turnovers, and that ended up
Yeah.
being the difference in the game.
Yeah.
So even if they go three and out, they could just punt the ball. Okay. The part that really pisses me off is the fact that after they gave up, which by the way, all 3 of their touchdowns came on explosives. Saquon 70-yarder, Saquon 50-yarder, Hurts 40-yarder.
Yeah.
So if the defense plays a little bit better, you
All
never know.
rushing, by the way.
Huh?
All rushing.
All rushing.
Yeah.
They couldn't throw the ball. Shocker.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I don't know where it
I
was.
just really quick on that note, really quick. I did a big bet on underdog, and I did Jalen Hurts under like 220. Wasn't even close.
Oh yeah, that's easy money. That's a glitch.
Easy money, bro. Anyway.
But the part, it's the fact that McVay wasn't calling those pass plays that they had at the end of the game after Barkley. It was 28-15, and they drove down the field and scored a touchdown like in a couple minutes, and it was like,
Yep.
where was that the whole game? Like they were running the ball really well, I thought, against a Philadelphia team who had like a top 3 defense, like you were saying. They made the defense look not as good, and I know they didn't have Mitchell, but I mean Slay's not bad, DeJean's not bad, and they have good safeties, Blankenship and Gardner Johnson. Like they
He
have,
was playing really, really well for the most part. I
yeah.
mean,
And so
yeah.
I can't blame it on any one person because it's a team sport, but the Kyron fumble really killed momentum, and then the Stafford fumble really did it in for me. The One of the
Yeah.
only highlights that I can really take away is I think Jared Verse is a top. I think he's low-key like a top 5 edge rusher in the league now. Like
for
he
sure.
he went in Philly, talked his crap, and then backed it up like in a major
Yeah.
way. Like you don't see people blow over Mekhi
And
Becton
that's
like
one of the
that.
best O lines in the league.
I think it's the best. And he bull rushed Mailata and got him into Hurts within like a second. He was giving Lane Johnson problems, and then he bull rushed Mekhi Becton and put him on his butt. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, the defensive line looked really good between the two games. I think they were like top 5 in playoff sacks. They had like 16 sacks this playoff run, and they only had 2 games. So like, I'll take a moral victory, but yeah, I think going off what you said with the O line, and then Kevin Dotson and Bo Limmer, holy moly, dude! I'm not going to even start with that. But long story short, re-sign Alar Jackson, probably get some depth at tackle because Havenstein's been hurt. I want them to put Avila back at center, bench Limmer, play Jonah Jackson at guard. There's questions about Cooper Kupp. I don't know if you can pay him $30 million a year just based on the
Oh
production,
no, you can't. You can't.
but no one's going to take that deal. So it's like, if they can restructure it, cool. If not, they got to figure out some stuff. But I think they need to get another receiver. Maybe trade for Kyle Pitts. That's like my dream. I think McVay would unlock Kyle Pitts. Um,
I do too.
but we need like a Samoan nose tackle to play in the middle to eat up two
Yep.
guys because I like Gallimore more than Bobby Brown. Gallimore had a really good playoff run, but they were getting eaten alive on the ground by Saquon. And then let Roseboom walk, get a like draft a linebacker with your 3rd round pick, or sign a guy, and then please figure out who's going to be corner 1 next year because they keep doing this thing with all their guys, and they're like, it's like a carousel of who they want.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
I I'm going on a rant here, but that they should have won that game on the last drive. They had the shot. The sack killed them. I don't know what Limmer was thinking, and then the Dotson false start didn't help, and then I didn't like the last play that they had to Puka. I thought they could have gone somewhere else, but
Yeah.
I
It's so
understand it.
hard not to
But
laugh.
what are your thoughts? Because I could go on and on.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of key points. I think all the touchdowns being on explosive plays is pretty brutal. Um, because it feels like then at that point that you really are in it. Like if a team drives down the field and makes it look easy, it's like okay, whatever. But they were pretty boxed up for the most part, besides those 3 plays. Like I don't think they. I bet the Rams outgained them.
Oh,
Maybe.
100% by over 100 yards. I'm pretty sure too.
Yeah, it was 402 to 350, but
Oh, okay.
remember the 78 yarder at the end for Saquon. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean they outgained them, and Rams lost the turnover battle, which hurts. Um,
I I will say that's the one difference when you were bringing up the elements. As
yeah,
much as I dislike Hurts, and obviously I'm not a big Philly fan, but they took care of the ball, plain and simple, and that was
really
probably
well.
those 6 points were the difference. Like they could have got 4 on the touchdown or the field goal drive, and then you can kick a field goal at the end of the game, which you don't even know if you make the field goal because it's snowing. But yeah, sorry.
No, no, you're good. I mean it's true though. You in the playoffs you have to win the turnover battle. I mean, you look at all the games, right? And you know, Lions lose the turnover battle, upset loss. Same thing here. Obviously not an upset, but still same deal. And then Ravens, even though they battled back, they still lost. I mean, you have to win the turnover battle to win. And but they played really. I agree with what you said for the most part. I mean, they played really well. Stafford looked good as always. Playoff Stafford is locked in. Um, I do. Okay, I'm gonna just throw out one really random question. Then I'm going back to the game. Where does and your bias aside, I'm not saying I'd put him above Stafford, but in terms of the NFC quarterback race, where does JD5 land right now?
I I don't know if I could say if he played in the game. Like if you take Stafford off the Rams and put in Daniels,
It's, it's so interesting.
I, there's a scenario where you could say he doesn't fumble that ball because he gets out of the pocket and
Yeah.
the play calling's different. If I could, I would trade Stafford for him like right now. I think because
Yeah.
he gives you a different element on offense. I'd say I'd probably give him number one and Stafford two, but I think those are two. They do different things. I think Stafford's arm is definitely better,
Yeah.
and I mean I wouldn't say his decision making is necessarily better because Daniels is just really good, but
It's close though.
yeah,
It's
no,
I think I still give Stafford the nod. I'm a huge Stafford believers, but it's very close. Like I think there was a cliff before. Now it's kind of like 1A, 1B,
yeah,
kind of. There's still
cle-
a little bit of a gap. I still have Stafford one, but
clearly the two
I
best
think
NFC quarterbacks.
for sure.
Yeah,
Like it's not close. Stafford was number one now, and that was kind of my Rams playoff argument. Was like, well, the best quarterback is on this team, so they're probably going to win. Well, the JD5 is right there
yeah,
and balling. So, um, but no, for the game, I think the Rams played really well, and they put up a really, really good fight considering the conditions. I think it is really interesting though because when you think back to the Sunday night game, that looked way uglier than this game did in the second half. And I don't know if that was partially because of the conditions or the Rams just played better.
hmm
You know what I mean? Because maybe if they had had a passing game, the Eagles would have been better off. But I don't know. It's a weird hypothetical. But Rams put up a good fight, and they got to get a corner one. Although it didn't hurt them this game, they still got to get a corner one, like you said. Um, Run defense has got to be better. Their pass defense, even without a corner one, is like pretty elite.
yeah.
Um,
No Fisk either for the game.
yeah, yeah. He played what like at one drive, and then that
Yeah,
was it.
yeah,
Um, I think I wouldn't be shocked to see him move off Cup, although it'd be kind of late to do it. But
yeah,
I think, which is a bummer, but he just hasn't been as productive for whatever reason. But the core is still there.
yeah.
You
They
know,
all I remember is last time they lost in the divisional round. What happened the next year? So that's kind of what I'm hoping for this
it's
year.
true. Let's go. I think next year probably Stafford's last year, I would guess, but we'll see. Um, trying to think. I mean, I think that was for whatever reason these Eagles are like they feel vulnerable to me. They feel real like the spread is 6 for the Commanders game now,
hmm
and I see it, but this Eagles team doesn't look that good to me right now. Like Saquon did everything. Without Saquon, they have no chance of winning that game. And I get it. Like you take Matthew Stafford off, sure. Like the Rams are completely different, but that's a quarterback. It's just different. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what how they do next week. I think there are still some pretty clear holes. If you're giving up 350 to the Rams, or no, I'm sorry, they gave up 400.
Yeah,
400 to the Rams with the weather conditions and whatnot. There's definitely some holes on that defense right now for the Eagles for whatever reason. So they better come ready for JD5 in that offense this week. We'll see how it goes. Um, so the last game of the recap, we got the Bills beat the Ravens by 2 in Buffalo. Lamar had some pretty controversial turnovers. Mark Andrews had a drop and a fumble as well. Um, the Ravens, another game, right? The turnover battle was lost, but they outgained the Bills, and it wasn't even close in that area. Um, I kind of want to start with the Bills. I keep flip-flopping with this team because I really want to take them to beat the Chiefs, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But they didn't like. Are you impressed with the Bills right now, or did the Ravens just really sell this game?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, the Bills are a good team. I don't think that the defense is as good as it needs to be. I didn't see anything from Josh Allen that necessarily wowed me, and I think
Yeah.
that kind of concerns me for the next round for them. But I think the Ravens probably lost it more than the Bills won it. But the Bills played turnover-free football, so you can't really discount that. I just think the Lamar pick, that was a bad throw, I would say. I can't defend
That
that.
was a
Yeah, I can't
it must
defend
have
that.
flipped or something. But whatever.
But then with the Mark Andrew plays, like I mean, the fumble was bad, and I understand him trying to make the play, but like you got to take care of the ball. Just that's bottom line. And then the
Yeah.
2 point conversion, everyone's saying that Lamar could have threw it better. Okay, sure, he could have laid it right on his numbers, but Mark Andrews had it in his hands, and so it's like I just yeah, I that's brutal, just brutal. That's probably a more brutal loss I'd say than the Rams loss. Like bias aside, just because
Yeah.
they could have taken it to OT at least.
Yeah, there's a lot I want to talk about with this game. I think, and I'll start with that point. I think the only reason I'm struggling with the Andrews, we'll just start with the drop, just the Andrews drop. Like, you give the ball back to Josh Allen with all of his timeouts in like a minute and a half. Like, I think people are forgetting, like, sure, it could have totally gone to overtime. Like, Bass could have missed the kick, absolutely. But were the Ravens going to win because of that? If that drop didn't happen, like, no, like we don't know.
Yeah,
Like it was, if there were odds, like the Vegas odds after that 2 point conversion probably would have been like Bills minus 350 ish, because they would have had the ball at the 30. All they needed was a field goal with a minute and a half and three timeouts. Like, Mahomes did that in 13 seconds with
yeah.
one timeout. Like, would they have done it? Who knows? Like, that's all. But I think people maybe are overreacting to the drop a little bit just for that reason. Just because it's not like it was the winning catch. It was like
Yeah.
to tie. Um, and I like, people are giving Lamar a hard time. I'm kind of 50-50 on that right now, because the cold weather, like, this is kind of I want to see what you think about this. Throw this out there. Does Lamar have a playoff problem or a cold weather problem?
Uh, I think it's a playoff problem.
You think so? Because I've been the Lamar playoff problem guy. But after seeing, like, it was just, he had one bad throw, and then he had one fumble. That was really bad. He you can't excuse. He tried to do way too much, and I don't know why he did it. But I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just like, could it be some sort of weird like cold weather thing? Is it all just playoffs? Because I find that a little hard to believe. I don't know.
I will say that I mean, I understand the cold weather thing. Only thing about the reason I say it's the playoffs is because he plays in the cold weather in Baltimore, and like throughout November and December, I don't
Yeah.
remember the last time they lost a game. And then even like early January, they look good. So it's kind of like I would like to say it's the cold weather, but I honestly think it's a playoff thing at this point. I think he just tries to do too much. I would like to see them get like a Tyreek Hill. Like you got to go out and maximize him and get a
Yeah.
receiver because your defense is good, O line's good. They just never have had a receiving threat, and I don't know if he tries to make up for that, but
See,
uh,
I agree. I also am like, they got Derrick Henry,
yeah,
and they fell into I watched the whole game. They fell into the same trap that they fell into with the Chiefs, which was, okay, we're gonna prove that Lamar is like this insane passer. And I'm sitting there like, I know how good of a passer Lamar is,
Yeah.
but you're doing a crime. You're literally committing a crime if you don't run read option with Lamar and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Like, what? There's nothing a team can do to stop that. And like, I get it. You're not going to run that play over and over and over again. I get it. But Derrick Henry has to get. You can limit him through the regular season. If you're playing the Browns, yeah, give it to Derrick Henry 6 times. Like, that's fine. But in the playoffs against the Bills on the road, you give it to Derrick Henry at least 25 times.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 1 yard gains, 2 yard gains. Like, you just got to force feed him the ball. And they keep going away from it. And I think part of the reason is like you get these weird turnovers and then you panic. Mark Andrews fumble panic. Zay Flowers fumble last year at home, right at the goal line. And then you panic, freak out. Like, at the end of the day, they're a running football team with Lamar. And that's not that he can't pass. I'm a Lamar, like I believe in him, but you got to go into your strengths.
Yeah.
And their strength is running the ball. And you have the unicorn of running backs on your team and a unicorn quarterback. And there's no way Lamar in that game, unless it's a high scoring shootout, should have, let me see how many passing attempts he had.
It was over 30, right?
Yeah, it's not over 30. He had 25. But Josh Allen had 22 for the record.
Yeah. How many rushes did Derrick Henry have? I know it's not
16.
enough. Yeah. That
He
needs to
should.
be.
I think he should be hitting 30, and it should be at least. I mean, do you know? Okay, I bet on this today. Saquon's rushing attempts number for this week is
Against the
25.
against the Commanders?
Yeah,
Jeez.
25. That's his line. It's 24 and a half. And Derrick Henry, I think, should be right at that number.
Yeah.
I think they should be
20. I think 25 is like.
If you're trying to chew clock, that's when you get to 30.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying your game plan should be 30, but
Yeah, not fair.
you should be hitting at least 20, and you should be aiming for about 25
Yeah.
with that duo. And Lamar didn't get like rushing attempts in this game. He had 39 yards rushing. That's low for Lamar. So I don't know. The Ravens confuse me. Cold weather, playoff, I don't know what it is. They got a game plans weird turnovers. Like, does this come back to Harbaugh at all for you? Does it come back to like because there continues to be like scapegoats for this whole thing, and I'm just trying to figure out like what it is.
I wouldn't say Harbaugh's like a X's and O's kind of guy, like a Ben Johnson or a McVay. He's more like a Dan Campbell, where he's like a good motivator, or like even Mike Tomlin. I know Mike Tomlin has a good defensive
Yeah.
scheme, but I think at a certain point, either you bring in new faces. I mean, Todd Monken's been a good OC, but the last 2 years trying to do this cute stuff with Lamar being Tom Brady, it's like you don't like. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's all on Harbaugh just because Harbaugh didn't like create. If they don't turn the ball over, they win. And so like I can't say like, oh, like is it a McVay problem in the Rams game because they fumbled it twice? But I think they're stuck kind of in this divisional to championship round, and I don't know what's going to shake to get them there. I think they need a receiver that's like a clear, like a Devontae Adams. Like,
Yeah, I just don't know how they get out of it.
I,
And I don't know if they were to get Devontae, for example, like now it did hurt that they didn't have Zay Flowers for sure. But like if they brought in, you know, Devontae, like I just don't know how much better they get because I just want them to run the ball.
it'd be different if they ran the ball like we're saying and they lost, because then I think it'd be easier to identify. But it's like it's just such a hypothetical of like
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the play calling, I don't know if it's execution, I don't know if it's both, but I think if you get like I think Zay Flowers is a good receiver, and Mark Andrews is solid. I think you probably have to move on from Mark Andrews and use Likely because I think he's a really
He's
good.
still, I get it. Mark Andrews sold, but he's still an elite tight end.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say he's a top five tight end anymore. I don't think
So
he's
who,
okay.
like,
Kittle,
the obvious
Bowers,
ones? Yeah. Okay.
McBride,
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
And then
Um,
I
let me think.
probably put Andrews, but maybe I'm missing someone.
Oh, I'm trying to like brainstorm real quick.
Um, I am too. I mean, Jonnu Smith. Are you gonna put him in there? He had a really good year.
I think if you
But
go based, I think if it just depends on your.
I would put Andrews, but I could hear out Jonnu Smith.
I'll say this at this point in their careers, I think Likely is more talented, and I think that he can be maybe not as good of a blocker, and he's not the prototypical tight end because he moves like a receiver. But I think you
Yeah.
have to like whenever you throw the ball to him, good things happen, and so it's kind of like I wish they just use him more.
Oh, I agree. I
But
He's definitely. I
if
mean, they have a great tight end one, tight end two punch. You wish they
yeah,
would, because I
but
mean,
if
let me look really quick at.
if you were to get a
Um,
receiver though, hypothetically like a Devonte Adams, I think that alleviates pressure in the playoffs, especially because I don't think teams are loading the box as much and playing a specific defense against the Ravens, and then that opens
yeah,
the field up for Lamar and Derek. But you got to do something, I think, because Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers is your one and two wide receiver punch. I don't think is going to win you a Super Bowl, just flat out.
yeah. I mean, Mark Andrews still had 11 touchdowns this year. I mean,
And the crazy thing, he didn't have one till like week six,
yeah,
like his
he
first.
he ended the year really well because yeah,
Yeah,
he started rough. I do remember that. Yeah, I don't know, just a
weird
weird
team.
spot, for the Ravens. I'm trying to be nice to Lamar, but it's hard, man. It's hard.
I can't.
And I really thought they were going to win. I really did. But I will say, and I heard this point talked about on a couple podcasts today, like Lamar could have easily just folded and not, they were down, what, 21-10, I think, or something, going into
Something
half.
like that.
And the
Yeah,
Bills got the ball back to start. They could have just folded and quit. And like they gave it a good run in
yeah,
that second half. So
absolutely.
got to give him some credit there, but I want to see him win, man. I want to see him win. Um, well, let's hit on these two games next week real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Um, so let me see what the first. I'm sure the first one's the Eagles Commanders game, but let me just make
Yeah,
sure. Oh yeah, so they're both on Sunday. Um, for the 3 o'clock Eastern game, we have Commanders in Philly. The spread is 6 on this game. We don't have to make like our picks yet, unless you have it and you're confident. But what do you expect? What are you looking to see?
if they can limit Saquon's rushing, I know the Rams couldn't. But if the Commanders could do it, I think they have a good shot. If you make Hurts have to throw the ball, I think they have good enough corners to kind of not stop Devontae and AJ Brown, but keep it close, especially with that offense. I just
Yeah,
don't know if they run the ball as well as the Rams do against the Eagles. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have another masterclass game. But I, I mean, division rivals, you never know what to expect. I think the game's going to be a lot closer than maybe people. I mean, 6 points isn't too bad, but I think it could be a
same as the
situation
Rams.
where, yeah, but like field goal walk off kind of a thing, or one team's down three and they have to go drive and they turn it over, something like that. I don't. I think I think it'll be covered on the Commanders' behalf. I don't know if they'll win, but that's what I'm kind of looking. I don't know if Quinyon will play either. I think they said he will, but that's pretty big if he doesn't, because then
That's
Terry has.
that's something to look out
Yeah.
for sure. I
What's
wonder if he'll
crazy
play.
is
I don't
what's
think the
crazy is
injury was
Stafford
that
ran him
bad.
over.
Yeah, literally. Some of these QBs, man, don't sleep on them.
Don't sleep on him.
They're
It's like a
tough.
truck.
Stroud gave a little shoulder in that Chiefs game.
Oh yeah,
Tough.
that was tough.
Um, yeah, man, I really like. I'm trying to separate my bias and like what I want versus what I think's gonna happen. But I do think the Commanders have a shot. They've already beat Philly. I mean, they're 1-1 against each other, right?
Yeah,
So the home teams won both. So I think you have to, probably Philly's going to win, but I think the Commanders can fight. I mean, this Jaden Daniels seems like unfazable.
yeah,
Like it's kind of crazy. I mean, his first time around in the playoffs, and he looks, yeah, I mean, he looks unstoppable.
like a vet.
Yeah. Um, it's just this is a very weird game because the Eagles, I could totally see them like killing the Commanders, and I could also see them being way too flat, and the Commanders kind of doing what they did to the Lions.
Yeah,
I really do. Like, I kind of have a gut. Like, I think the other game, Chiefs Bills, is going to be close, back and forth. You kind of know what you're getting. The same Chiefs Bills game that we've gotten every time. But if I had to guess right now, I think Commanders go into Philly and win. I think you look at the coaching staff. The Commanders have the better coaching staff. Like you got Fangio over there. Obviously, he's better, but as a whole, I'm gonna take the Commanders staff. I think they got the better quarterback, and you know, Philly has home field, but two of the factors that I kind of use usually leaning the Commanders' way. I think they can pull this one out.
yeah,
I mean, JD5 needs to be special. That's got to be like a 300-yard game with three tutties probably because I don't
yeah.
know. I don't think the Commanders can really slow down Saquon enough. I don't respectfully not to bash the Rams right now, but I don't think the Commanders giving up 200 to Saquon
No,
either way. But I think they need to be in the Saquon's at 80 to 90 range to have a shot.
yeah,
Um, and if Saquon gets over that, it's got to be JD5 like with 303 tutties. So we'll see. It's obviously everyone's talking about Chiefs Bills. Just it's the rematch. It's captivating. Mahomes Allen, but this game's gonna be fun. I think Commanders Eagles is gonna be a fun one. Um, you got anything else on that one?
I guess my prediction, if we're gonna do it right now, I would say Commanders cover. But I don't
Yeah,
think that they win. I think, like how you said, I think if the Commanders get out, I think if you get out to a big lead on Philadelphia early, I think it's hard for them to catch up. But I don't know if they have the pass rush to disrupt Hurts like the Rams did. I think the Rams had a pretty good shot just because of that, but I'm rooting for the Commanders, so I'll say that. I just don't think that
for
they'll.
sure.
I just think they're like 1 year away, and then it's like, oh, the Commanders, like, holy moly, kind of a thing. So, what about you?
Yeah, I think Commanders take it. I think the weird thing about the NFL is that this can happen and like these teams do win. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Which sounds stupid, but like in college football, like it kind of usually works out to where like the best team wins it.
Yeah,
And if every year, like we knew Michigan was the best, Ohio State, it kind of went back and forth through the year, but like in the beginning of the year, we kind of knew they were the best, or at least up there. NFL, anyone can win. I mean, the Giants, one of those years they won the Super Bowl, they were a six seed. That
yeah,
was before the seven team in each conference. They were the last team in. I mean, the Commanders are hot, and the Eagles, keeping it a stack, they've not necessarily been the most hot team. So they can do it. They got to show up, but I think they can do it. Um, all right, to the last game to wrap it up. Bills go into KC, a classic Arrowhead Invitational. for what, like the eighth year in a row.
Yeah, basically.
Um, I'm you're you probably know where I'm going. But what do you have for this game?
It'll be interesting to see how I think Spagnola preps against Josh Allen because this isn't like the turnover prone Josh Allen that we've seen in the last few years. And I think that the Bills will be able to move the ball on them. I think they have a good O line. Um, and I think that they have a pretty good run game considering Josh Allen and Cook together. I don't know if they have the offensive pieces, but then again, they've got this far without having a, like an all pro or pro bowler kind of talent on the receiving or tight end thing. I think it's just going to come down to ball control and which defense makes the timely stop slash. I mean, there could be a turnover both ways. I honestly don't know how this one's going to go. I think this is going to be like a slugfest.
I
But
I think I wonder what the over under is because I think
I
I
think
think this
whoever
one,
gets to 21st wins.
yeah, I think this one's going to be a little weird because nothing has been smooth about either of these teams on offense,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's just going to change overnight. Even though it's like this great matchup and blah blah blah,
Yeah. I think
I don't really see it.
if the Bills were to win, though, I think this is a solid year for them to do it.
Oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Um, yeah, I think the weird thing about the Bills right now is they're playing really well, but it also doesn't feel like they are. They're kind of, it's actually it's a lot like the Chiefs to me. Like they're winning games, but it's just not pretty at all. Like Allen did not have a great, I don't want to say that. He did what he had to. He didn't have a bad game, but it wasn't like this Hall of Fame great game. It was just kind of okay, we're going to hand off, take care of the ball, keep everything in front. I mean, I don't think he had 200 passing yards.
No, it was like 140.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up yeah, 120.
Ugh.
120. But it wasn't bad. I mean, he didn't have a bad game. It was just he didn't really have to do a lot, and they were
Yeah.
holding the ball. So, and the reason I'm skeptical is because I don't know if that is going to work against a team like KC.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to step up and make some plays. Um, but then again, I mean, KC's also looked, vulnerable in comparison to some years. Like, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think you're probably going to see turnovers from both quarterbacks. I think you're going to see probably both of them throw a pick in this tight spot. Do you have a gut on who you think is going to win?
I want to say Chiefs, but I honestly wouldn't. I would not say wouldn't mind, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills pulled it off.
Yeah,
I think I know the spread is at 1.5, so it's like damn near a pick 'em.
yeah,
Um, I want to say Chiefs just because that's kind of the favorite here, and they have Arrowhead uh, advantage. But I don't know, dude. This feels kind of like a Bills year. I've been wrong in all my picks. I picked the Lions to kill the Commanders. I picked the
it's
Ravens to kill the Bills, so I'm gonna go Bills, low key. Just
it's not been my spot either. I think
yeah.
the Rams spread is the only playoff spread I've hit.
Oh,
I think
Texans spread
no, it missed.
9.5.
No, it closed at not. I had it 8.5.
Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind.
I know it's all right. Well, okay, I bet on the Texans to win the wild card.
There you go.
So, no. Um, I'm gonna do it, man. I always pick KC in this spot, but I'm not this time, and I feel really confident about it. I kind of tried to bait you into thinking I was going KC,
Yeah, you
and
definitely
I'm
did.
not. I'm not. I think even though I always take him in the spot, maybe I'm a little salty about the way the Texans game went. I do think, especially with the way that Bills defense played against Baltimore, I think they can do it. And I think Allen as a whole has been playing better than Mahomes. Um, I don't know. It's two very similar teams right now.
Hmm.
In years past, they've looked pretty different. I mean, the Bills still had Diggs last year. Allen was kind of turnover prone, where Mahomes was kind of in mode of like not throwing it downfield, keeping everything in front. Now they're both kind of doing that. I think I think the Bills win just because of I think Josh Allen makes one like highlight play where he, 25-yard run, whatever it is. Kind of like that game they had earlier in the year.
Hmm.
I think you're going to see something like that again, and I think the running of Josh Allen makes the difference here
Yeah.
because I think it's weird because you would think I thought kind of going into the playoffs you would see the Chiefs offense really click, and honestly against the Texans it really didn't click. It was Kelsey that clicked. D Hop didn't have one catch. Hollywood Brown non-factor. Worthy did more than those two, but not really a factor either. Pacheco, not really a factor. Kareem Hunt, same. It was literally Kelsey, Mahomes, and I don't think that's going to be enough to put him over the top. So I'm feeling pretty good about going Bills here.
All right. Bills, Eagles. Then I think we're on the same page.
I I think the if you had to make me pick the winner and not the spread, I'm going Commanders.
Wow.
And I'll bet it just to put money where my mouth is. I think,
Okay. So Commanders, Bills, Super Bowl is what you're projecting.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a weird one. That's a weird,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
weird
that's never
Super
been
Bowl.
said before. I don't think.
No, but I just don't think Philly's gonna have it, man. I just don't. I don't trust. I trust JD5 more than Hurts. I trust the Commander's staff, and like Cliff Kingsbury's gotten a lot of crap, but he's they have locked in. They're locked in right now. They're playing
Yeah.
really really well. They just went into Detroit and put up 41 points. I know their defense is banged up, but that's still very impressive.
And I agree.
And so I think
Okay.
I think I think Bills Commanders.
Okay.
Weird one.
Bills, Eagles for me.
We'll see, man. Chiefs could break
Yeah.
open with our projections. So
Yeah.
I think that was a solid episode. That was a good
In depth.
hour. I think
Yeah.
we had good depth, kind of hit on everything with the NFL. So, um, anything else to kind of wrap it up? You got anything?
No, I'm. I think we're good. That was a pretty good one.
That was a good one. Um, we'll put as always, follow everything. We got to get locked in on Twitter, but other than that,
Yeah.
pretty solid. Um, we'll put the picks up on IG as always. And we'll be back. Maybe we'll talk about doing another one later this week, but if not, we'll be back to recap all
For the
these
Super Bowl.
games. So, yeah, before the Super Bowl, we'll be back for sure. So, appreciate you guys. We're out.
Peace.
Peace.